finished. Got it.
Okay, a nice little. Are you okay with that? Yes.
Yeah, it lets you know
I've been a
before.
part of one that's being recorded, so.
Okay, do you want me to start? Or Anna, did you want to?
Do you want to begin?
Well, Danielle already knows me. I have her children in several programs. If we're just having her, I don't think I need much of an introduction. But Danielle, I know that your kids have done ClayWorks before, but have you done ClayWorks before?
No, I haven't. This is my first time. They don't usually want to share with me, so I'll give my turn.
Good.
All right.
Welcome.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, Miss Becky, I don't know if you want to talk about ClayWorks a little bit.
I will. I think Susan, I'm not sure if Susan's here with us or not, but I'm happy to, because ClayWorks is a place that I've called home for 17 years roughly. I came here to take a class 17 years ago, determined to take just one class. Really wasn't on my radar, but a friend kind of twisted my arm. And so that was 17 years ago. So I really kind of never left. I've gone from being a student to a studio assistant to a studio artist, to instructing. And I still consider myself a student because I could live 5 lifetimes and not learn everything there is to know about clay. But one of my biggest passions here is being able to share clay with others, because it's just, to me, it's a very relaxful and therapeutic thing. So it was a big part for me during COVID, working with clay more than usual. ClayWorks itself, we are the largest not-for-profit ceramic studio of our kind in the Southeast. And we are the 4th largest in the country. So we're a pretty big studio. We're located on Monroe Road here in Charlotte. I believe it's across from Oakhurst Elementary. And we invite you, if you'd like to take a tour of our facilities, just give us a call beforehand and someone will be happy to meet you and take you around and show you all the kind of work and the things that we do with clay. We have 3 classrooms. We have a number of classes that we do here. We're pretty much back up to full speed since pandemic started. Although for a while there, we were closed like everyone else. And one of the reasons that we are doing Zoom classes is because not everybody has opened up fully yet to the public. Recreation centers and some libraries are still not, opening for this sort of thing, for people coming in large groups of people. So we're very happy to be able to still be doing this with Miss Anna, like we did before pandemic, where we actually came in and brought clay and made pieces all together. We're looking forward to the day that starts again. So it will happen soon. But until then, we work with air dry clay and we have a really good time with it. So I'm looking forward to this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Becky.
Thank you, Anne.
And so as you can see today, we're going to be pushing kind of both of those ideas together, ClayWorks and the Living Archives project that the library has kind of taken on as well. And Christina, so I'll let you go ahead and just, facilitate everything else. You let us know what you need.
Okay, so hi Danielle, you're the star of the show today.
I didn't realize it was just me today. Woo.
I know. Well, we'll talk and share too. I'm a Mecklenburg County resident, so I have a story to tell as well. But I just want to give you a little bit more information about the Living Archives project and some ways that you can connect with the project. We'll have events all around the city over the next 3 years, collecting stories from children, elementary school, all the way up to high school. We are doing quite a bit of interviews. I've done 36 interviews, personal interviews with individuals to share their experience of COVID. And so Anna at South Boulevard, she's one of the ambassadors for the programs, and she'll complete interviews as well. We have a website. It's at livingarchivesclt.com or .org, and I'm going to put that in the box. And then I have a few questions that we kind of talk about at the interviews that I have. You know, feel comfortable sharing what you want or not sharing. It's fine. We want this to be relaxing and fun for you, but also it's been therapeutic to share. We found that people had a lot to say about it, and it kind of took the weight off because you could see how others were experiencing this. Pretty similar, like we're all human. So I put the questions in there as well, just kind of like a starter. What are or were your biggest fears during COVID and the pandemic? What has been your biggest loss during the pandemic? If you could share something you gained during the pandemic, what is a lesson you learned that will stick with you for the rest of your life? What did you miss most during the pandemic lockdown? And what are the hopes you have for yourself and the community as we move forward following the pandemic? So I will certainly share some of my story about the pandemic. I've experienced loss, but I've gained some things too. A lot of perspective. And so you share as you want. Miss Becky is going to walk you through the project.
Thank you so very much. The questions are great questions, by the way. So Miss Susan that you see up in the corner, Miss Susan is actually my superior supervisor and superb supervisor here at ClayWorks. When she first mentioned this project, I thought it's what a wonderful initiative and wonderful project it is. A bit of a challenge to choose a project to do in clay that has to do with a situation that I think a lot of us wish we had never had to experience before. But it's been challenging, and in a way it's been kind of fun for me because there have been a lot of positives that have come out for me in my life from pandemic. And I think it's something that has changed every level of our society in some ways that we may not yet have seen. But in art and in the art world, that sort of thing is the sort of thing that you can make statements of. We don't have time to really make a big statement today with what we're doing with air dry clay, but I thought we could go one of two ways. And we'll see, Danielle, what you think of this. I have a couple of different options. One of the things we discussed doing was to make what we call a diorama, which is sort of a model, like and you see them quite often in museums, a model of figures or things within a setting, or things that are inside that setting. In several museums, they'll have like animals, where they're like an animal scene in the jungle, and that is a diorama. It's a big word basically for a model. So we talked about maybe making a model that would incorporate some of the things that we have experienced personally during COVID-19, whether it was during lockdown or coming out of lockdown. And one of the ways we could do that would be to make a pinch pot. Now this is a very thin pinch pot, and you can actually make this out of a piece of clay, half of the clay that came in your pack. To make a pinch pot, you just take half of that clay and kind of get it shaped into a ball shape. When I have young kids with me, when I'm teaching, I always talk to them about making a snowball, kind of patting it, making a snowball. I have to also qualify that we don't get to do that very often in Charlotte, North Carolina. Or making a meatball, if they've helped make a meatball or a tofu ball at home, if they're in a vegan family. But we just like to get a nice spherical shape to start out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And I would say, particularly with our project today, it doesn't have to be perfect because it all had to do with COVID. So if it's a little imperfect, that might even be a little bit better, perhaps, to start thinking about in terms of that. And then thinking about maybe as far as the experiences are once you get it made, what you might want, items you might want to put in that have to do with your experiences during COVID. But let's make the pinch pot first. So once you've got a ball, you want to take your thumb and you want to push it down in. You don't want to push it down with your thumb lying down. You want to push it down vertically into that ball as far as you can get it to go without going through. Okay, so you end up with something that looks a little bit like a mushroom, or that Tom Thumb sticking his finger into the pie and pulling out a plum. And what you do then is, you want to open it up. So in order to open it up, you take your thumb and you put it back in, you keep your fingers together, and then you just try and press your thumb to your fingers. And as you do that, you turn with each press and each pinch. This is where the term pinch pot comes from. You turn the circle around a little bit. And what happens, you'll see, is it starts to open this up. So that hole becomes wider, and it actually begins to look a little bit like a pot. Now, this clay is likely going to crack a little bit on the sides. That's okay. We can smooth it down with water. And again, the way I think of things in my reality, because it is sort of COVID, I don't really mind the cracks. I rather like the cracks because that tells me this was not a perfect time. Some in our society, even in our government, a few cracks showed up. We don't always know. We have never, few of us are alive. I'm not sure any of us are alive today who lived through the Spanish flu and a pandemic like this. So the more imperfect it is, in my mind, perhaps the more it actually relates to living through a time that none of us really expected to see. Where we learned an awful lot of things about each other, and where we need to maybe make some changes. I'm not making any political statements at all, but where maybe some changes need to be made to be able to be prepared the next time something like this occurs. Because we certainly did, it took everyone by. We just weren't sure, and not knowing, having never been through it, not knowing what to do next. There's a lot of room for flexibility there. We're all in this together, so, and have been for the last year and a half. So you see what you end up with then is rather a nice bowl shape. And here my cracks are talking about. What I want to do is just kind of, and once I get that nice bowl shape, is kind of press down on the bottom, put it on its side. And so you end up with like a little, that's our little theater. That's our little shadow box, basically, where we can put our pieces. It
And
sort
then
of looks.
Becky, I think Danielle is showing us her piece.
Yes, I would love to see it, Danielle. Yes, that looks good. That looks very good. So you just
That's
kind of
pretty.
flatten it down so it has a flat bottom, and then it can sit there for a little bit. And maybe then as we talk and we share, you can just begin to think of some things perhaps that you might want to put in there. Experiences you may have. What things did you do during COVID like that were a little bit different? We can refer to the questions that Christina has put up there. Things that you missed the most. What did you miss during lockdown? We can put that in our diorama. What kind of wishes do you have for the community moving forward? What would you create to show what that wish might be? And we can make all of these little miniature things in clay to put into our little dioramas. The other option is a thing, I'll just do it very quickly. This, I think you can tell what this is a mask. And it was actually used from a mask. I didn't put the mask on the clay, but it's another way you could actually do this is to make a mask, which you would use as a mobile. Now, I did not put any holes in this, but it doesn't matter because it's air dry clay. I started thinking along the lines of the questions that Christina is going to ask about things we missed or things that happened. Zoom was one of the things that to me, and it's backwards on your screen now, I'm sure, but it made a huge difference in many people's lives, being able to stay connected, being able to go to work. It made us able to come into your home to do clay. So Zoom is one of the things I'm grateful for. And this, right, to finish it would be things that happened during COVID that I am grateful happened. Things that I woke up to that I didn't think about before, things that I had not been able to do. Gratitude for all the helping hands. I could do little hands of people who helped one another during this time. A hearts for heartfelt and wishes and prayers there's many things we could do and actually make it a mobile. So that's another possibility of something that we can do with the project today. Again, we may not finish that project today, but this is something that you can continue to work on. And with air dry clay, if you're not happy with what you do today, or you just want to start again with it at some point, you can ball it all up and you can put it back in this bag and maybe wrap a little bit of a wet paper towel around it, and it will be able to use again, just like you've got it. So, and if you're going to finish it, but not finish it today, you can also put just a damp paper towel on it, put it inside a paper bag, and it will stay moist. So you won't it won't start drying out on you. But that's sort of the projects that I picked for us to work on. So I don't know if you want to ask some questions now, and then as we go.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna, I wanted to ask, but I also wanted to share, was there anything that you all, and this is a question for everyone, that you missed the most, or what was that? And I was gonna share mine too, if anyone else wanted to go first. So something that you missed the most during the pandemic.
I'll go first since I think it involves programming for me. I think that I specifically get a lot of purpose from being with people in person or working with people in person, right? And having a lot of restrictions because of COVID-19 due to the job that we're in, which is working with the community. Obviously, that has been limited, if not really almost sort of taken away, right? We're doing Zoom a lot of the times. And it, for me, I think what was taken away, it wasn't just like all of these things where it's like, okay, yes, there's the restrictions and limits with what we can and can't do. But there's also, I feel like what was taken away was a little bit of my purpose. So that was, I think, the hardest thing to really kind of try to find more of.
Oh, that was beautiful, Anna. Thank you for sharing your purpose. Do you feel like you're getting that back now that you're able to do programming virtually?
Feels like not necessarily like I've gained that specific purpose back, but it was more of like a search within myself kind of journey. And I think that what I've come to realize is just maybe changing that purpose. So I think it more went in that direction.
I love that.
I really can't say thank you enough to everybody involved, because this is what my family does because of COVID. We do these Zoom meetings and we get these classes and we meet new people and we try new things. And I honestly cannot imagine if we did not have this as part of our lives, because this is almost 100% of our socialization. So the last 2 years of not really being able to hang out with friends or do things we normally would do, all that being gone, it has made a world of difference to our family. It's really been a lifeline.
That's good to hear that, Danielle. Thank you for that.
I've called you from Florida when we're on vacation. I'm still calling it.
She did. She was in Florida and she was still, she didn't come to pick up kids that day, but I think somehow you pulled together all of the material from the house that you didn't even live in.
Yeah, not my house, but we came prepared. But I knew we were going to have class. I'm like, bring her stuff. But yeah, it's really helped out. I mean, and we've gotten to meet so many new people this way. Normally I would have driven my children to classes, and this way I've actually experienced almost everything that Mecklenburg has had to offer, and that's incredible. And my kids have made dozens of clay projects and dozens of science and art projects, and it's been a wonderful learning experience for us.
Danielle, and I can't remember if you mentioned this or not, but did you visit the library before COVID?
Oh yeah. I mean, we mainly went to the libraries that were closer to us. So like the Matthews, Mint Hill, Ray Road, occasionally South Park area, but all the other locations we'd never been to, and so this way we've expanded our world of librarian friends, and it's been great. I definitely have used this resource a lot.
Oh, for sure, yes. And I think I've said this before and the emails that we've exchanged, but Danielle does she's just really I feel like the word that comes to mind is she's just very supportive of your kids, right? I feel like, I mean, everyone knows you across the system because I think you attend like everyone's programs. But I think you have been very good at keeping your children engaged, even within, again, COVID sort of symptoms that we're kind of seeing, right? So you're doing a great job as a parent, and I commend you for that.
Thank you. I mean, it's for me, it's fun. You guys go out of your way to make things, to make learning fun, and I can't get enough of that aspect of it because I want my kids to always be curious, and we're definitely have a creative bent. So it's for us, it's just like to get this time to hang out with. Thank all of you.
I think you froze a little bit, so I didn't get that last sentence, but I did hear the thank yous, and so we also thank you.
Okay. Good. Heart.
Thank you for sharing. Did anyone else have something that they missed during this time? Miss Becky?
Oh, well, I missed physically being at ClayWorks for several months of COVID. I did do, in fact, Susan brought some recycled clay to me because at my house, because I hadn't, I ran out of clay. So she brought some recycled clay for me to work with and play with when I ran out of clay, along with some dinners. She makes wonderful chicken soup, by the way. And she brought some of that over. And it was just so good to see her that day because I hadn't seen another live human being that I could talk to for months, except for my husband. And I love my husband, but I was ready to see somebody besides my husband. And I think missing ClayWorks, and I'm a very physical person. I love to hug people, and I truly can feel the ache of not being able to hug someone when I couldn't hug Susan that day. It wasn't safe when we were in masks, and just wanting so much to be able to hug another human being. That part, that was probably the toughest for me, was the physical separation from other people, being able to hug people, being able to see my sister. A good friend of mine's father passed away, not from COVID, but for the majority of the time that he was in the hospital, his son could not visit him, could not go up to see him. And he got to see him toward the very end when they put him in hospice for maybe the last 4 days of his life. And I got to go up and see him too. This was a little further into the pandemic, so they were a little more relaxed, but his actual funeral service was 4 people. And he was a beloved deacon in his church. And he would have been the kind of person that the celebration of life would have been wonderful. And it still was nice. But there was just the pastor, the son, and his wife and family, and then my sister and myself, to be there able to celebrate a man who'd given and loved for 92 years. That was difficult. But as far as personal loss, I've been very fortunate. Just miss hugging people, so.
Thank you for sharing. Did you want to share or?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I'm trying, as I try to think through that question, there's this part of me that always has the dichotomy of the other side of that. Like, if the loss is, at the beginning, especially, it was that wanting to be with my friends and hang out with people, and just that literal loss of connection. It's now like, learning, Zoom, how does this work? We can talk through a video camera, but just not being able to physically connect with friends and go visit and see them and be in people's presence. That was a big loss. Yet I see at the same time too, having to be at home had so many positive things that happened, right? There was that other side that balances that, and things I was able to accomplish by being at home or spending more time at home, concentrating on me and my partner and what we're doing and what we're creating, and having some space and time to do that, with also wanting to be like, yeah, I want to go hang with my friends, until we got to a point of being able to have some porch visits or driveway visits and and do that. But I hear you, Becky, with that loss of just connection. And I think that's much of what, we're all in a service industry in that way, that it's about connecting with people. So, even I totally hear what you're saying, Anna, that side there too, of just connecting physically with people, that we go out and we bring people together, and commune and share with one another and share a fun journey of play. And yes, that's my job, but I enjoy my job very much, right? It's a part of who I am in that way of creating, just in creating in general, and creating community with people. So Danielle, thank you for your thank yous. Because it's also nice to hear, because it can be discouraging sometimes when numbers are really low and people, don't attend, of wondering, is there a reason to continue? Should we be continuing this? Should it change in some way? And that kind of sparks that side. So it's really nice to hear those stories of when it means something.
It really does. My kids are, what class are we going to have today, Mom? What are we doing today? They're very accustomed to, this is part of our life. And for me, it's a wonderful thing, because I don't have to worry about them getting sick. I don't have to worry about, anything else. So it's been a real lifesaver, having these opportunities to still be with people and then this way. So great.
Wow. Danielle, you were supposed to be here today. That thank you was right on time.
I'm a super fan.
Yeah. I was going to share something that I missed the most that I didn't think I would. Before I came here, I've been working with the homeless population for about 5 years. And I thought they took a lot of energy out of me, but actually they gave me a lot of energy. And not being able to connect with them and have them in my office, it just changed the entire job for me. It just changed everything, and didn't realize how important they were to my life, but they just gave me so much. And so I miss connecting with them, and I just can't wait to get back to connecting with them, whether that's through volunteer or however it comes. But I'm just excited to get back with that community, because it's my passion, but also I think it's a part of my calling. So that's what I miss the most. I think I hear a theme: people and connection is so important. Yeah, for sure. I was going to, could anyone share something that they gained during the pandemic? I'll go first.
Okay.
if you don't mind. I was perspective. I definitely gained perspective. I think when you're in the hustle and bustle and you have a family and you have all these obligations, you kind of feel like, it's okay if I don't call my mom or dad or my grandma, but the pandemic has really shown me what's important in life. It's given me perspective on the things I need to value and the things I don't need to covet as much. And so I would definitely say I gained a lot of perspective, and I think it's going to help me. I know it's going to help me as I move along in life and the experiences. I can tell, like, my family, and we're closer, and not just my immediate family, but like even my outside family, like not immediate family, just being able to call them and speak to them. I didn't realize how much I was missing by not doing that. And so I would say definitely perspective and relationship with my family.
Perspective definitely is a huge part of it, because I have a tendency personally to go all the time before COVID, going all the time. And I'm 67 years old. So I keep going and I keep going, and I laugh about it. My husband's like, you can slow down a little bit. But he has really no room to speak because he's a workaholic and he goes too. He's 65. But just liking to get as much out of life. And I think it's not a grim thing, but it's a real fact for me is that as I get older, and I never really thought I would get to be 67, for heaven's sakes, and be in as good of health. I'm really in excellent health for 67. That I would come this far. But I think part of me, I go and I go and I go because there's something inside me that's like, just keep going until you can't go. And so one of these days, I'm not going to be able to do some of the things I can do. I'm very much aware of the fact that one of these days, my wrists are not going to work as well as they did. And I may not be able to work with clay the way I do now. And there's a little bit of fear in that, but there's just more drive to do as much of it as I can while I can do it. Walk as far as I can while I can walk. All of those things, especially after seeing my 92-year-old friend, Jack, who had a great life, but at the end, there wasn't a lot that he could do. So I want to live every moment to the fullest, every single moment to the fullest. And so during pandemic, initially, my very first reaction, along with the fear, because there was fear, I do have some underlying conditions, but my fear was that, what if I don't get to go back to living life the way I was living life? This thing has stolen days and hours and weeks and maybe months of my life where I could have been doing this or could have been doing that. And now that's gone. I can't do it anymore because of COVID. And that was my initial feeling. And that changed after some time to, I can still do a lot of the things. Sure, I can't travel, but there's a lot of other things that I can do, new things I might never have tried. And so I channeled all that busy into that while I was, at home. But initially I was not happy with it. I was just like, I may have, if I have 2 years left in my life, I don't want to be spending it in lockdown. That was a very real thing for me in the beginning. But I got over that. So.
Thank you for sharing.
I'll go next. Kind of similar to, I think, some of the pieces that you guys had said, and then also going back to what I had mentioned before, where it's like I felt like I had what I've lost is like this purpose, right? And trying to kind of find that, what that means for me. I think a lot of it came out of that. So even though the purpose was lost, like other purposes were gained. And so through the pandemic, I really focused on things that made me just kind of excited to do. Not just excited about life, but just like things that I really, really enjoyed. And so I started playing the piano, or at least picking it up a little bit. And there's this, like, I downloaded this whole app that like teaching me how to do it. The last time that I actually painted something was like in high school, and I used to love painting, and then just, life gets busy and all of this and all of that. And I started painting again. And so that's been really, really fun. And I started meditating, or picking up more of a habit of meditation and exercise on a regular day basis, and journaling, and those things, like, they just, you read about a lot of the times, you hear about this having an attitude of gratitude and practicing this mindfulness and gratitude and prayers and things like that. But until you really put it to practice and like you stop doing it, like, you don't really see those benefits. But like being building those little habits of things that one that I know from reading that it's supposed to add to my happiness levels, and then also just like picking up hobbies that I really enjoy has been really great. Also, the last time I played soccer was again back in like high school, and most recently I built a soccer team. And so that's been a lot of fun, kind of coming out. That's more coming now, more recent, that we COVID at least has, I don't want to say, getting better, but it's in a way sort of the I guess the hype of it has diminished a little bit. So yeah, it's been, I think, a lot of more reflexive work on myself that I think has come out of that. So I've gained a lot of that.
That's awesome.
Yes. Having the time to do that and take care of yourself. It did give us time. While it took time from other things, it gave us time to do other things. And that was one of the gifts of it, actually. And take the lesson sometimes to slow down and appreciate what we have. Because when you're going so fast, you miss things. But we had to slow down because we were forced to slow down. We were locked down, but yeah.
One more thing
May
that
not have been
I
what we're looking
wanted
for, but
to add to that is that, even though again, when we talked about losing this connection and human, interaction, I would say that also while losing a certain piece of it, I also gained part of it because I think it forced me to also spend more time with those who I am already sort of close to, so like even deeper those connections. So it also helped in that regard.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got in touch with much more family, people I hadn't been in touch with in years, and friends. So yeah, absolutely.
But just having the time to be at home without the automatic worry or the automatic stuff that has to happen and occur, and having that space. As an introvert, I was thriving, right? So, what I gained in that are hopefully some skills that I can carry through and can continue, of putting up boundaries of, okay, my personal time is important, and that stillness and quiet is something that I need as well, like internally, and just to keep, kind of fueling to look at other things. But I was much more like, sending out birthday cards and organized and knowing when people's, stuff that was happening in other people's lives, instead of just, get up, go to work, what's for dinner, what am I going to cook, what's the next thing that just that going and going. That honestly, coming out of it, that's been a challenge, is balancing that peace that I felt from working from home, being able to be at home, like hang out, take the dogs for a walk, enjoy doing things around the house, reading, getting into new activities, with then life getting busy again. And now we're back out, and I almost am kind of yearning for some of that stillness back. of wanting to be able to have things be a little bit more calm again, and not so many things happening all at once. Yeah.
I get that. So somebody's trying to tell us something.
I think this it's definitely given me the opportunity to meet people in different ways that I never would have done before. Outside my little world and my little circle of friends. So I really appreciate the chances to meet people from the background, get their perspectives, just have that window into other worlds that I don't normally have, because we only know certain people in our lives. So this has been a great opportunity to kind of broaden that for me.
Well, we learned at ClayWorks that we can work from home. Like, we can make this work remotely. And then I can, my job can get done remotely. And there's also reason to be together, but it gives an opportunity for, like, right now I'm in Florida, and my sister and I and my dad are, we're all here together, and my sister and I are both working for the week, but we're able to do that. And at least we can spend an entire week together. That's not just a quick weekend, and just have that time. And 2 years ago, that wasn't an option. If I needed to go away, you took the days off and you left, and that was it. But now being able to say, like, okay, can I work remotely for the week, like, and make sure everything is covered, that's a huge gain for me to be able to do that, especially as parents age, and we lost my mom over the COVID time. So being able to gather It's been a huge, huge thing.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
And that goes into another question I had. What do you feel like is your biggest loss during this time? And you
I
can
think it'd
take a
be,
few.
like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
not- I was gonna say not being carefree anymore. Like I watch television, I see people on movies and things like that. You know, there's no mask, there's no existence, you know, there's none of that. So I'm like, oh, that's how things used to be, you know, and I know people still continue to live that way regardless. But for me, I'm always going to have that top center in my mind that, you know, you should wear a mask and you should try to do this thing so you don't get anyone else sick. So that's how it's affected me. It's like it's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to think about this one.
It's a good question, though. And I'm not sure that some things come to mind with me, but I'm not sure fully aware right now to the extent of what some of those losses might have been, and they may become clearer to me as we progress and as we move on. I know by when you asked the question, I thought, yes, it's a loss, but it's hard for me to put it into words right now. But I think maybe all of us have lost something that later we may not know about for months yet, and it'll all come out later. But I mean, this was truly a totally surreal thing to have to go through, being locked down, wearing masks. I mean, you've seen in Japan, it's normal to wear masks quite often, and I always thought how weird it would be to have to do that here. Never thinking that was going to actually become a reality for everybody in this country, you know, and we for so long. So, yeah, I don't know. I think more will be revealed in the months to come as to what effect going through something like this has had on the country and the culture, all cultures as a whole, all across the world. It's everybody. I mean, it's not just one place, you know, it's everywhere. And that's the enormity of it.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
I feel like the question implies that there's like this big grand loss, right? And I don't think that I feel that necessarily. Like I feel like even though I talk about losing some sort of purpose, like I don't think that was necessarily bad, right? Or negative. I think again, it pushed me to like look elsewhere, and I think it's pushing me towards more of a better or more fulfilling route for me. And so I don't know. I don't even consider it really like a big loss.
I think Becky made a good point. I don't know how big the loss is yet until I think we're out of it and I stand back and look at the time. I'll have a better perspective, but I will say losing my grandma, and it's not just losing her, it's like losing time, because I see myself, like I'm 33 now and this big event has happened, and I pretty much had a good life up until this point. Not a lot of pain. And so I see myself like turning into a big girl, I guess I could say. And I just have so many questions for my elders at this point that I didn't have a year or two ago. And I'll never get to ask her those questions. So that's a loss, because I mean, I know people have to grow old and they do have to go, but I'm growing, and it's just so much that I see now that I could have asked her about. You know, I would know more about my father if I knew more about her and her childhood. um, having to deal with the trauma that I know she experienced as a Black woman in the South, and having to move up north and raise 6 boys by herself, living in the projects. Well, my grandfather died early, but she was married. So I feel like that's my biggest loss, just not being able to talk to her and ask her the questions that I feel like I need. But yeah. And I think we'll move on to a more hopeful question, and which is my last question. What is your biggest hope for yourself and your community as we move forward and come out of this pandemic finally?
I'm hoping it's compassion for each other.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that people take more time to give each other the benefit of the doubt and listen, and show concern for each other, not just themselves. And I was on mute earlier, and I was saying I really admire you collecting people's stories. I think that we don't do that. We're in a family. We just take it for granted that we know each other, and we never ask each other those questions that are, how we became the person we are. So I really admire you for doing that, and I wish I'd done the same thing too with my grandparents. So that's a missed opportunity that you'll never get back.
Thank you.
So do I.
This might be on the more like grand scheme of things, but kind of to what Danielle said, I think that, and I don't even know where really this would start, but that we are kind of prepared for something like this to happen again, like just be more prepared, because I think that a lot of people had maybe hypothesized this happen. Like I feel like there was a lot of maybe like preparation that we could have had within, diverse communities and for just the general public and national world level, community level. So I think, I guess what I would want to see is just that we learn from our mistakes, that we really pay attention to the data and, the people and everything in between, and kind of be more prepared.
That's how I feel too. And yeah, I hope we're more prepared for when this happens again, or if something similar happens again.
Yep. That says it for me too. That's definitely it. And what Danielle said, that in the meantime, until we can get to that point, and while we're working toward that point, that we have compassion for each other, not just the people who've lost someone, and even compassionate for the people who do not believe the way we believe on a certain aspect of this thing. That's been difficult for me at times. So, but just and just compassion and flexibility and being open-minded. This took everybody by surprise. We didn't. I mean, I guess there were warning signals or some studies or whatever, but I think most people got blindsided. I think a lot of our politicians got blindsided. And I think we all at the beginning kind of wanted to work together. And then so there was that first blush, we were all trying to help each other, but then things start to become politicized or whatever. And then we're not helping each other quite as much. And I hope that we can overcome that and just all understand that we really are all one. And what helps one helps the another. What hurts one hurts all of us. So that connection, I think that's probably that's what I missed the most during COVID, that connection. And what I believe it's what will help us the most in the future to meet this again when and if it happens. And it probably will happen. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but I'm sure it will happen again. It's just nature.
it definitely makes me feel better to know that other people out there want to make a difference. They want to do better. That is optimistic news for me, unlike most of the news I hear and see. So just knowing that you guys are out there and you're all doing a wonderful job, I appreciate that.
I would say for myself, the hope is that I continue to carry the calm and not and stick with just the stuff, aside from just carrying the calm. I'll leave it at that for right now. And as a community, though, I hope as we get back to being able to, right now, and I know there's a bunch of, in some ways things are just kind of back to pre-pandemic things, but in many other circles and communities, that's not how it is. And so I do hope, though, as we move forward as a community into being able to gather together, that we listen to one another and we don't just dive back into how things were before, but there's an openness to hearing other people's stories just in general and reconnecting, and that we connect genuinely with people instead of just being just completely dismissive or not even having the time. And that's even in the broader community, right? There's a lot of separation in a lot of ways. And so we still have a lot of work and healing to do to bring people together and see who really are. So hopefully we continue to open up that space for one another to feel more connectedness and listen to one another's stories.
Thank you all for sharing. This has been a good conversation for me. I hope it's been a good conversation for you all too.
Absolutely, Christina. Thank you for making it possible. Miss Anna, thank you for making it possible.
I didn't bring any clay with me, so I totally forgot to bring some to sit and make a project. But Danielle, I would love if you wanted to share any of the pieces you were putting in your diorama or what you're creating, and if you want to talk about that.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So I realized, unfortunately, I cannot do detail very well. So I ended up having just to do some basic shapes. But I just thought that, we're, as I think it was said earlier, that we're all one. We're all on the same planet together. And that we all share the burden of that as a species, and that we should work together. So then I have the links together because I could not make people.
I love it.
I definitely could not make hands. Those were out of my realm there. So maybe after a few years, we'll see. But I think that was the end thing with me is that, if we all work together, then we'll have a better future. As a parent, I especially care about that. So.
It's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I love what you did with it. I mean, it's just the meaning and what it is it's everything's intertwined there. It's a statement. And that's what it's about.
It gives me a tone of like modern art. Mm-hmm. And I can see like the links of the rings being like this connective piece, which I think represents a lot of what we talked about today. And obviously like standing there together. Yeah, I can definitely see a lot coming out of that piece. Me too.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that it's not as literal as the piece that I'm working on. It's much nicer. Mine is very literal, and I like yours.
Thank you.
Well, I thought I had clay at home, and my kids said, "Yeah, we do." So they brought me something, but I think it's too wet.
Oh, it's pretty wet. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah.
So I've been sitting here trying to put together something, but
but just having your hands in it, Christine, it's good for you. It's good for you. It's, if there's kaolin in it, whatever. I don't know if it's kaolin or if it's air dried clay, but It feels good, right? That's part
It
of it.
does. It does. That's why I keep
Yes.
playing in it. I keep playing.
Yeah, just playing with it. So Susan, what would you put in your diorama if you had clay with you in Florida there?
Probably a little house, because I really did enjoy spending time in
Mhm.
my house with my direct family and just enjoying nature and sitting outside and being a part of that. Little computer, being able to work from home. So kind of going that more little route. I'm trying to think what kind of is that, because I feel like this is a great conversation, and then there's this bridge to what is next. So what does that look like in moving forward? And I'm not sure what else necessarily. Danielle has me thinking more abstract.
I think it's
Run it
that's really
together.
nice. Go ahead, sorry.
And so we're in it together regardless.
Yes, yes. And it's going to be going on for months and years. So this conversation will continue, and it will evolve as changes happen throughout whatever is to come. I mean, that's been the big thing, right? What's going to happen next? What is there going to be another? Is there going to be? We don't really know. But keeping the conversation going, then it's fluid, and as things change, then people change and comments change and the story changes. So I like the fact that it's going to be a conversation that really never really ends. It's going to continue to go on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think I'll be 80 years old talking about 2020, what happened. So yeah, this has been an experience for sure.
It has.
It has, yeah. I don't know if it's because I'm hungry, but something I would put inside of my bowl, if I could construct one, would be a donut, because I learned how to make donuts during the pandemic. And I make them pretty good too. So my kids are asking me for donuts now, but I'm proud of that.
Awesome.
You should be.
I know that's kind of shallow. I'm sorry, but that's just...
No. There's nothing shallow about that at all.
That's an accomplishment you should be proud.
You know, now that you say donuts, yesterday I went to the main library is shutting down, and because they're rebuilding the whole entire building. And they had like a staff event yesterday, which I went to, or not yesterday, the day before, so Saturday. And one of the desserts that they had were these donuts with like a cherry wine drizzle. And oh my gosh, they were like, I'm not a big fan of donuts because I feel like they're just really heavy. But my boyfriend got one, and I was like, you know what? Like that, he was talking about like how good it was. So I was like, I'm gonna go get one. And oh my gosh, it was like the best donut I've ever had. Now that you say that you made your own, I'm like, man, now I want to make my own as well and try to remake that donut experience.
I could teach you on Zoom one day, Anna.
Oh, that would be great.
Yes, you could.
We'll have a library program that's about how to make donuts, and then we'll get more people involved. Yeah, she'll join us.
Of course I will. I demand that you send me donuts.
Yeah. Donuts, and we can go to a museum together, because that's so cool. They have the museum things that you can go into now, just about. So, yes, you can travel, not literally, but you save a boatload of money on airfare. You just plug it on your computer and you can go to the Louvre and all these other amazing museums across the world. So, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
I think I'd rather have a donut though right now. Thank you. That made me hungry too, Christina.
Anna, do you know where those donuts were from? Do you know who made them?
I don't know. I'm sure they catered from a specific catering place. But
Okay.
they were, what I liked about them is just like they weren't, like big donuts. Like it was like maybe like a small little not even a donut hole, but it was like about that size. It wasn't too big. It's a good size, because I don't need like 1,000 carbs in the donut in one seating. Because like my sugar levels are pretty sensitive because I come from a family who has diabetes. And so my insulin levels like are pretty easily affected. They're very sensitive. So when I had that donut, it's not like I felt like kind of bad about it later, not necessarily in a more mental state, but just like my body feels it. So that's why I really liked it. Like the proportion was good, the taste was good, the texture was good. So, well, I wish that I would have picked up on the name, but I didn't.
That's all right. It's probably good you didn't. Yeah.
It's a good place that opened up on Monroe Road.
Mm.
OMG.
OMG.
I haven't been there yet. I have to take.
Is it a donut shop?
Mhm.
OMG Donuts and Coffee. There's
Wow.
one in Concord, and this is our second one. I will have to say, just thinking of that makes me just think one last thing that has been really nice is, so I'm on the east side over there, Monroe Road, and I mean, that's where ClayWorks is, and I live off of that. So I kind of feel like that's just kind of my territory. And so I don't know if it's necessarily pandemic or just social media in general, but MORA, the Monroe Road Revitalization Association, just puts out all these great suggestions and highlights community. So at the same time, even though that we're not meeting together, I feel like the community is really coming together because you learn about this place that you've driven by several times, and they're highlighting it and saying, this is great food that they have here, or you can shop and go over here. And all these things that you see along Independence and Monroe Road and businesses, that it's this, and then now everyone's kind of sharing and resharing each other's posts and connecting with other, just connecting with businesses or restaurants, and both as ClayWorks and personally. Like there's places I've gone because it's been listed as like, hey, go here. And so there is the nice little sense of community that's happening that's just from social media, which is kind of, it's crazy.
That's a good point, because I've noticed that too. I'm here in Matthews, but I feel like people want to connect more. So I'm trying to figure out where all the new spots are. I am on social media looking at Charlotte Metro and different events to connect with. So yeah, I think it's going to be really busy once everything really cools down next summer. It's going to be hot outside, and it's going to be a lot of people out there.
Yes.
People are ready. They're ready to let loose. So yeah.
They are. I made a donut for you, Christina. There's it. So I can hold it up. It froze.
Here, I can't see it.
About the right size. They actually are somebody is making clay donuts here at ClayWorks and firing them. And every time they're beautiful. Every time I see one, it's just like, because they look so good and they really make me want, they've got the little sprinkles on them and the pink strawberry icing. And they look just like the real thing. There was a chocolate one with light icing and raspberry drizzle on it. And they look real, and they're ceramic. So don't bite that. But
well, it is 6:36, and I'm going to get ready to wrap up my portion. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. We have recorded it. It'll be entered into our archives for years to come, for patrons to come into the library and say, hey, I want to see what's going on in 2021 and what the library documented from COVID. And so it'll be there forever. like archival materials. So thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate it. And this was therapeutic for me too. So I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Christina, very much.
Yeah. Thank you for
Lovely
inviting us to
meeting
be
you.
part of it, Anna, and Danielle, thank you for showing up.
Yes. Yes, yes. And then come again to another one, and we'll make a full project. This has been a little bit looser, but we'll make another one at another time. I guess there's one coming up Wednesday, but that may be full up. Is that one full up, Miss Anna? Do you know?
Not that I know of. Beatrice didn't mention anything, so I don't think it's up yet, but it's usually the third or fourth, no, it's the third, right?
Third
Yes,
week
the third.
usually, yeah.
Usually the third Monday and Wednesday of every month. And one thing that I did want to say is that if anything, I know that Danielle is like really good at being responsive, responsible. She's just like there all the time. Like even if, like I'll reach out to her about a program and she can't make it, she'll be like, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't make it to this one. But I feel like, with just it being a virtual platform, it is really hard to keep that communication happening. So Danielle, I really thank you for just being even just responsive, right? Even if you can't make it to the programs, just letting us know ahead of time, like that's really helpful for us too. So I appreciate that, and you being here, of course.
You guys have done so much for our family. I mean, I cannot go on enough about it because it's always amazing, and every single person I've come in contact who has been so wonderful and just gone so above and beyond. So for me, you guys are family, and we love you.
Well, Danielle, welcome to the South of Boulevard ClayWorks library system family. We definitely feel the same way.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you, Danielle. I told you you would be the star of the show.
I'm looking forward to reading all these stories that you've been collecting. It's exciting.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting all of you face to face in person at some point too. If you're not a hugger, that's okay. I'll stand back. But if you're a hugger, I will hug you because I really so much really enjoyed this today. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go get donuts.
I know. Bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
I gotta go wash my hands.
Yes. Have a good time in Florida, Susan. I can't hear. Did I mute you guys?
Are you good to pack everything up and you got what you
Oh,
got
yeah.
for Wednesday?
I will pack up. I'm actually going to pack up tomorrow after